Greetings, citizens, and welcome to Political Viewpoint. I'm your host, Eric, and today we're going to be quickly covering the approach to policymaking and theory of functionalism. So, the origins of functionalism come from the interwar period, 1920s to 1930s. This is happening alongside the school of thought and approach of liberalism, but they are not in any way, shape, or form similar, although they do have some common threads, as a lot of these approaches to policymaking do have. So functionalism comes out of the idea based upon common needs by states and non-state actors in the process of global integration. They focused on the common needs that they thought were more important and had more of an effect on populations and on the states, rather than just focusing, like realism had for the longest period of time, on just state interests and high politics. So kind of the ideas that started to spark the functionalist approach to policy was the need for global integration that was caused by the erosion of the state sovereignty that had occurred during this period of time, and as well as the spread of knowledge of policymaking throughout Europe and the Western Hemisphere, North America, that was happening during this period of time. Because after the First World War, lots of different thinkers were coming together. The existentialists, as I mentioned in the previous lessons on neoliberalism, lots of ideas were being spread around. It was kind of a sort of mini Enlightenment period. And this spread of ideas also carried on into the field of political science and policy making, where policymakers from North America were sharing their ideas and strategies with those in Europe and vice versa. So lots of trading of ideas and knowledge. And this is kind of where functionalism started to get some of its ideas out of, and where they saw this need for global integration, and saw some of the benefits that spreading knowledge and expertise had. So some of functionalism's ideological roots can be traced back to some of Kant's ideas in many of his works, as well as Woodrow Wilson during his 14-point speech. Furthermore, another thing that functionalism can be attributed, or something that can be attributed to functionalism, was really the pioneering of globalization theory and strategy during this interwar period of time. So functionists argue that authority to make policies or to take action politically or in the international realm is based on the functions and needs, something that is super territorial, that is beyond just one particular territory or state. And the needs in particular for functionalists are scientific knowledge, technology, and expertise. Expertise in any field, whether it be healthcare, agriculture, or political science, for example. So the need for every single state, but mainly for the human race, to have the best and most up-to-date technology, scientific knowledge, and good expertise in all fields to be spread and to be shared, and that's where the authority to make policies that allow for that comes from for functionalists. And as a result, functionalists refute the idea that state power and political influence is why there are international organizations. So they're kind of along the lines with liberalists in terms of saying that international organizations are not being created or influenced by a particular state for their own reasons or interests. And finally, functionalists say that international agencies will meet human needs when it they are aided by proper knowledge and expertise, because those are the two commodities that us as humans need the most. So they say that they'll be able to meet the human needs at an individual level and at a larger societal level by providing important knowledge and expertise in whatever field or on whatever issue it may be. Final arguments to recognize is that functionalism argues that the benefits from this system come from these functional agencies because it grants them loyalty of the population, and it stimulates further participation and expanding the area of integration. So, for example, you can think of the internet. You can think of YouTube, Facebook, this video right here. This is the idea that functionalists get behind, that the benefits come from these agencies because they gain the loyalty of populations, because they're providing knowledge and expertise and scientific knowledge and technology to vast swaths of people, regardless of their where they come from, their identity, the state that they belong to. This is the idea behind functionalism. So very much so, especially a perfect real-world example concurrent today. I don't even think many political science functionalists have argued, at least on paper, is the internet, is YouTube, is Facebook, these conglomerations, because you can really see how these social media influencers in particular have kind of taken this step forward in towards of gaining lots of followers, so the loyalty of population right there, and then they are stimulating participation and expanding that area of knowledge and whatever expertise that particular, say, influencer has. So you think of Gary Vaynerchuk and social media. You can think of the slow-mo guys for filmography and some of the science stuff that they do. The list goes on and on. A lot better examples I'm sure you guys can think of than perhaps me right now on the spot. But this is kind of the idea behind functionalism, and particularly the argument behind functional agencies and international organizations, and how they spread and meet the needs of us everyday citizens and keep this system kind of going. So there are three main principles on this: is that integration takes place in the framework of human freedom. So and what do they classify by human freedom? It's kind of along the lines of Descartes and that sort of theory. I don't want to go too much into depth about that, but the sake is for each individual to be able to make their own decisions, and that they're not repressed by another actor, and that they're able to have access to this knowledge and to this technology, and to gain the benefits from this sort of expertise. So it's important that there be human freedom in order for this integration to take place. Secondly, another key principle for functionalism being able to work, they argue is that the knowledge and expertise is currently available to meet the needs for functional agencies. How functional agencies are built, say whether it be YouTube or Facebook, that there currently exists the proper amount of knowledge and expertise in order to meet the needs for what they are building themselves for, right? Whether that be, say, the Red Cross and delivering healthcare to impoverished nation states and communities, right? Whether that be for example, do-it-yourself home hardware YouTube channels on how to build a fence for your backyard, things of this nature, right? And lastly, that states will not sabotage this functional process because it's in their best interest not to. Because if they do, they risk losing even more the loyalty and risking angering the populations that are partaking in this integration process. I think that's a very valid argument. However, like I said, it depends on your opinion where you are on the spectrum, but just factually based on examples for this can be Egypt during a lot of the uprisings and conflict that was occurring there in the past few years when the internet was shut down and a complete blackout, media blackout there, and how that affected them politically on the international level and the international state. Restricting the human freedom as well as restricting this integration process, ended up being a real bad thing that they shouldn't have done. So, lastly, to mention for functionalism is just the fact that the presence of neo-functionalism. This is a European construct. It's prevalent currently in Europe, and it's a political project that's known as the European Union. So this is influenced by the works of Ernst B. Haas and Jean Monnet, and this covers the idea of spillover. It's entirely focused actually on European integration, and it's at the center of debate between the intergovernmental approach as well. But that's just something for you guys to know. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole today. So that's functionalism in a nutshell. Thank you guys for staying tuned on this episode of Political Viewpoint. As always, you can check us out on Patreon for all the newest updates on the channel and things that are coming out. Also check out our Medium, as well as anything that you want to comment on or questions to ask, send in at political.viewpoint@gmail.com. Links below in the description as always. Have a great one.